we're going to get started with the intro. So this is Brian Harris, the creator of the Independent Black Voters Speak on Facebook, where we believe that we must be educated in voters, we must have an agenda, we must speak that agenda, and we must hold all candidates accountable to discuss the issues in the Black community. And today, as we go through our series of Know Your Candidates, we're proud to have Mr. Hunter Cain here, who is running for Clark County Commissioner C District. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, well, welcome, Mr. Cain. Tell us a little bit about you to start off. Tell us who you are. Tell us a little bit of why you're running. So we'll start off. Give us a little bit of background on Mr. Cain, who you are and why we should want to vote for you.
Absolutely. Like you said, my name is Hunter Cain. I'm running for Larry Brown's term limited seat in the District C, which is the northwest part of the valley. If you think northwest, kind of just think of Decatur and Charleston and everything kind of west of that, with Rancho being the dividing line. So it includes Summerlin North, Centennial Hills, Mount Charleston, all the way up to Creech Air Force Base and Kyle Canyon. One of the things I love to tell people first and foremost about me is I'm excited to tell people that I am a foster parent and adoptive parent. So now I have to say both. I have fostered 15 youth over the past few years, ranging from 8 years old all the way up to 17 years old. I was fortunate enough to adopt my first son in 2018. I adopted my second son this past November, and it's going very strong, and I absolutely love these kids. Prior to me being a foster parent, I was served in the U.S. military. So a month after the Twin Towers came down, I was one of those people that felt called to duty, and I joined the U.S. Army. And I spent the better part of a decade in the U.S. Army with deployments in Operation Iraqi Freedom and service in Enduring Freedom and Operation New Dawn. When I got out of the military, I decided to continue my service, and I went to go work for Congresswoman Dina Titus. I was her Director of Community Outreach and her Senior Veterans Caseworker while there. And through her office, I was able to really connect with the community a heck of a whole lot more. So we've hosted over 100 different type of community events. We did a lot of different type of outreach in unknown places. So, prior to our office, there was no outreach looking for veterans or things like that inside the churches. So what did I do? I set up a table and let me go find the veterans. Or, there wasn't a lot of outreach into senior citizens' home when it comes to benefits for Social Security. So what did our office do? We went into the places where the people are, which was great. When I decided to step down there this past June, there's a few different reasons as to why I wanted to run. The first one being is I believe that there are some serious issues in the Clark County the Department of Family Services. Now, we have some great advocates on there. I'm sure you know Commissioner both Jones and Commissioner Kirkpatrick are huge advocates for the youth, but I think they need a little bit more help and guidance. There is no foster parent that's on there. So I'll be the very first licensed foster parent to sit on the commission, and I want to do some huge changes there. Secondly, there's the Department of, let me back up, sorry. There are no county services when it comes to veterans in any way, shape, or form. So that's one of the second things I wanted to do, is I want to go on there and create the county's Department of Veteran Services. Not to create another bureaucracy that just gets boggled down, but their entire job would be to let other veterans know what programs are out there. So I should be able to say I'm a 38-year-old single dad who's looking for mental health or food services, and a list of local organizations popped up that are veteran-friendly, that service that specific population. On top of that, I've worked a lot with a lot of different type of homeless organizations. So everyone from Veterans Village, on the military side, all the way to the Nevada Partnership for Homeless Youth, and everything in between. There's a lot of great ideas of what we need to be doing out there. Unfortunately, sometimes the government gets boggled down, and they're running out of innovative ideas and ways to accomplish a goal. So what I want to do is come on the commission with some of these ideas I have and the partnerships I have to be able to even help our homeless population. And then on top of that, I'm a big advocate of changing around the way that we do business in Clark County. The county has what they call the Business Council or Advisory Council, I think it is. And one of the things that they're not doing that I would like to see doing is promoting this as the place to do business. Vegas is known as, come here to gamble, come here to drink, come here to party. But a lot of people don't know, come here to do business. They don't see it, come here for the cultural aspects, come here for other different things. And I think the Business Advisory Council would be a great avenue. And I can go on and on. I'm sure there's supposed to be questions in here, but there's a lot of different little changes that I would like to see in our county commission. And I said, hey, I can complain about it, or I could jump in there and actually do something about it. So I decided to toss my hat in the ring.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for your service.
Absolutely.
Obviously, we do appreciate the veterans. Here with the independent black voters, one of the things that's different, I've asked you to tell me what your passions are, but we're here to talk about the black issues, the issues in the black community, and where your passions are. Obviously, you are African American.
Yes.
Tell me, and before we start out, what do you think are the issues in the black community that should be addressed by the county commissioners? And obviously, right now, we have Commissioner Lawrence Weekly, who is the only African American. Obviously, he's turned out.
Yes.
And we need to understand why the black community should consider and get behind Hunter Cain as he pushes towards his quest for Commission C. Obviously, this is not in Weekly, and we need to have more people, not just in one commission, that are African American and can
Absolutely.
Speak. So tell me where your head is as far as issues in the black community.
And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head right there. I'm running for District C, not only because I live here, but I'm hoping to be the very first African American elected to this district. It's great that, there's one seat carved out, it seems like, for African Americans, but we're not just in one area of the valley. We are all over the valley, and we all have different things that we would like to see accomplished. When it comes to the black issues, I believe that there are certain things inside each of the different areas around the valley that needs to be addressed. So even going back to the foster care world, there are majority African American youth that are in the foster care world, and they're hard to get placed. Let's not even talk about if you happen to be LGBTQ or trans black female in the foster care world. You kind of just know that no one's going to take you because there's a stigma going on that's not being promoted. If we're talking about in the business world, there are a lot of different type of things that I would like to see where there are priorities given to minority-owned, specifically black-owned, women-owned and veteran-owned businesses when it comes to there. If we're talking about the pro bono courts, which the county oversees, or if we're talking about juvenile justice, if you can list an issue and there's a shortfall when it comes to representation, in the black community, and then any type of effort to help equalize it. So a great example is, again, the county commission board itself. There are 7 members on the county commission board. 1 of them are black. There used to be 2 females. Now there's 1 female, 1 black member, and that's just about it. To have 2 black commissioners would be a huge first step that we would be able to do. And in that aspect, we'd be able to turn around and affect a heck of a whole lot of different type of programs. I would like to see, I'm not sure if a lot of people know this, but the Clark County Commissioners, they oversee, or they're part of the Las Vegas Metro Police Department Citizen Review Board. So when there's a complaint about a police officer, they go in front of this board, which the commissioners sit on also. And how much of an impact could it be if there was a black member sitting on that board? Or if we can make sure that there is representation going on. If you're talking about other different things, I remember reading this story, I think it was in Illinois or Ohio or something like that, when a black person was being pulled out of a shopping center for wearing a face mask. I'm like, well, that's what you're supposed to be doing, but it happened to be because you're black, you're pulled out. If you look at the discipline when it comes to the Clark County School District, I don't want to, and insult the board there, but if you look at the representation, which is light on the black, and then if you look at the way that they're punished, a lot of different times is that, when you get into a fight at school, if you ditch a class of school, if you're doing anything like that, the non-white students are more likely to get, 1 day suspension, 2 day suspension. The African American student is more likely to have the CCS police called on them, and they're going to have a criminal record. So literally in just about every aspect that the county touches, I think we need to have better representation and better equalization of how we're doing different type of things in the county.
Okay. Now, I took a look at your website and I appreciate your
Okay.
input. And this is the Independent Black Voters. We believe that Black power is a three-legged stool, a three-legged stool requiring social justice, economic might, and our political agenda, not the Republicans nor the Democrats. I looked at your website because, folks, I encourage people, look at the candidates' websites. I look at the Black community. I looked at your issues there. One of the things I want to do is work with all of the candidates to expand what their discussions, their issues, because it seems that the majority of candidates are quick to talk about the social injustice, and yes, there is social justice. Education inequality. Yes, there is education inequality. I want to talk about economic inequalities because, again, when you look at the commissioners, you're literally in control of what would be considered a small city.
Yes.
You have a lot of outreach. I hear very few people talk about equity in procurement, equity in construction, equity in the marijuana industry. If you look at all of these things, if you look at a lot of things in the Black community, the things that we're dealing with goes back to economics. We need to get candidates who are going to focus on fairness of economic equality. We need the people who are going to break down these good old boy agreements where all of the procurement dollars go to a certain amount of people because they make the investments, they purchase, they buy the commissioners, they buy the state assemblies. We want to have people in here who are going to say, look, and I'll put it this way, we're roughly 13% of the populace. We should make sure that we govern, that our police, that our firemen, that our government opportunities are fair and equitable. We need to make sure that our procurement, from everything from the city to the school board to the school systems, be it the public school systems at high school down or up to CSN and the universities, UNLV, because that's not happening, and no one is talking about the equitable opportunities that need to be there. We need to smash the good old boy system. We need people who are going to come in and say what is happening is not right. I'll give an example of the stadium. We were promised that through the community benefits program that every community would rise with the tide. But after everything was said and done and after contracts were signed, we got the same short end of the stick when it came to opportunities. So tell me, as a commissioner, what are you going to do on the economic equality side of the fence? What are you going to do to try to make sure there are true inclusions? Veterans are doing good. Women, white women are doing good.
White women, thank you. Okay.
Women are doing okay. But overall, when you look in the Black community, they are having us celebrate diversity while we are being locked out. So tell me where Mr. Cain, where you can come in your position and just look for fairness, equity of opportunity, and make sure that the doors that have been inherently locked by the good old boy system can be unlocked. Okay, your choice.
No, so Commissioner Weekly did his best as he could on the commission. However, he is one Black voice among a sea of non-Black voices. So having two minorities on there, two Black minorities, is a very, very small start. But one of those things that we can do is we can change the way that we're doing business. So is there some big magic pill that we could take tomorrow and then all of a sudden everything will be equal? Absolutely not. You brought up the stadium, and the stadium's a great choice. Rather you're for or against the stadium being built, I think is not relevant right now. However, how we handle the contracts on the back end is something that I try to approach many commissioners with, saying, hey, it's great that we're talking about who's constructing it, or it's great that we're talking about all these different aspects, but who's doing the back end stuff? When we need to buy toilet paper for all the bathrooms in there, where are we getting that supply chain from? When we're talking about doing the maintenance of it, the giant light bulbs, who is supplying the giant light bulbs to there? And it's sad to know, but most of those companies are not Nevada. Most of those companies are shipping it from outside.
And that actually goes back to government buildings. That goes across the whole spectrum of, we have a government that spends a lot of procurement dollars. and they talk about diversity, but they don't really talk about inclusion, because
No.
let's be serious. If I'm a white man, I can put my daughter, I can put my wife in the business, I can get the business into their name, and I shift it from one pocket to the other. And then they ask us to celebrate diversity. So we want to have people who are going to be serious about real inclusion. Who are going to be serious and willing to say, get past the minority and diversity tag and say, let's look at the numbers, let's peel back the onion, let's find out and make sure that this government is working for the people and for all of the people, including Black folks.
So this might frustrate, I think, some of my other, future fellow commissioners, but I'm one of those people, and I think this is where the representation in the office matters. I'm one of those people that will specifically ask those questions. So I'm also, big when it comes into the environment. So we're talking about a new construction site. They're planning on building I think it's a $7.1 billion blue tech park in Henderson. Mm-hmm. So, okay, that's great. So the question I have then is well, how much renewable energies are we going to be using in there? Okay, great. These contracts, how many of them are Nevada owned versus out of state owned? Okay, great. So how many now are minority owned? How many women owned? How many veterans owned? Okay, great. What's the minority makeup? So, I don't mind asking those questions when it comes to how we're doing business and everything. And the same thing when it comes to, I've received a lot of pushback, let me just say it like that, from the Department of Family Services as a foster parent who's African American when they prefer to have nice white families, who's single parent when they prefer to have married couples, who's LGBTQ when they prefer to have heterosexual, and who doesn't identify, when it comes to whatever religion they're looking for. The last two people that discriminated me was because I was not LDS. So it's just kind of like having different people, even in the senior offices there, that are Black, to say, hey, let me make these decisions. Hey, let's change the way we're doing business. Literally every different way that we can do it here. How do we do it? Is we get someone who's sitting on the commission who says, I want there to be at least one Black contractor on this $7.1 billion project. I want there to be at least 25% of that makeup to be minority owned that are actually doing this right here. Whatever the benchmark is, we need to have someone that says, do this. This is a requirement.
Okay, and that's great. And I'm going to say this is the independent Black voters. And I want to make it clear to everybody who's watching, we have everybody. We have Republicans, Democrats, Black, white, purple. And talking about Black issues is specifically what we do. Just as the LGBT talks about the LGBT, just as the Hispanic talk about the Hispanic, we want to focus not on minorities. We want to talk about the issues of how do we make sure there's fair and equitable opportunity, because it should be less than just have one business who has a figurehead. We want to make sure that Black people are working, because when we work, everybody works. And I tell people, the tide rises for every group when they start focusing on the inequalities and the injustices being done to the Black community.
Yes.
So again, we are talking to every candidate, Black, brown, white, purple, green, that is willing to talk about our issues. And I thank you, Hunter, for coming on here, because many times we stay away from the word Black and we say minority, we say diversity. But in the independent Black voters, we're here to talk specifically about the issues in the Black community, with the realization that you would be a supporter for everyone. Yes. But also be willing to say, look, there are issues in the Black community, there are injustices, and we need to have people in there who are going to be accessible and who are going to be willing to fight for us as they fight for veterans, as they fight for disability, as they fight for women, as they fight for LGBT. We believe that we cannot continue to be put on the back burner. We believe that we want to have candidates who are willing to speak up, not just when they're on our platform, but when they're on everyone's platform, about injustice. And it's not just about social injustice. Economic injustice breeds social injustice.
Yes.
And I'll say this again. When people talk to me about social justice and they don't talk about economic injustice, then they are supporting social injustice. You get that?
I did, and I just don't want to add to it, though. One of the things that, is very important to me is to talk about, when it comes to Black issues, not just the social or the economic, but just talk about how we're playing ball. So when I bring up things like foster care, to know that there are mostly Black youth being there that will age out of the system, that will end up into the homeless jail system or sex trades. And we're talking about the Black veterans are the least likely to get benefits for whatever reasons. So there's a lot of different type of issues there that I definitely want to hopefully address.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because even people understand, when you have a stronger economy, you have less people in the system.
Heck yes.
There's a direct correlation between economic prosperity and some of the ills that we constantly deal with here. So, Mr. Cain, I thank you for taking the time to be interviewed. This is the first of a series. We will have a lot of things coming up. Mark your calendar. May 23rd, we're going to have a candidates fun day. It's going to be at Raw Remedies. It's tentatively scheduled. Obviously, the coronavirus is determining a lot of what happens with our lives in the future, but we still must realize life goes on and we're preparing. We hope to have you out there. We hope that the candidates will come out and win and earn our vote. Come out and listen to us, because I appreciate you coming in, and first we listen to you, but we're trying to get people to listen to us and understand we are more than homelessness. We are more than in social injustice. We are really a person who says, give us economic equality, break down the good old boy system, give us the ability to grow and prosper, and we will show you what the Black community can do. So I thank you again. I encourage you to join the This is the Independent Black Voters. I'm going to give you a lot of time. Give them your information, and then we will we'll go forward from there. We'll end this.
So again, my name is Hunter Cain. I'm running for Clark County Commission District C. The website you can visit me is huntercain4commission.com, or you can feel free to call or text my personal cell phone, which is area code 725-212-0560.
All right, thank you, Hunter, and we'll be talking more in the future. And I thank you for being on Know Your Candidates on the Independent Black Voters Speak. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Bye.